Hey guys, Synthmania, November 17th, 2019, Synth Walk number 5. And apologies for the hat. I couldn't find my hat, so my son gave me his. It's really cool today. First question from Till. Hey Paolo, I'm following your channel for a while and I really like your last video about the 80s, really interesting. I'm a fan of music, especially 60s, 80s, big music, synth pop. Today it's boring. I think the music from these decades were more innovative. First question, are you listening to today's music? And no, I'm not listening to a whole lot of brand new music because there's no time. Just between the job, family, kids, I do listen to music on YouTube, but you know, my age is kind of harder to stay up to date to music. Second question, which synthesizer and drum computer do you love most? Have a nice walk. Well, thank you. Kind regards from Germany. I kind of like a lot of synths. Some of my favorites are the Jupiter-Xm and the Prophet 5, the PPG. Drum computer is TR-909, Lindrum, Oberheim DMX. Second question, Mark Underwood. Hi, I just watched your Acid House MIV. What do I need to go the same? If you want to recreate it, you have to get the machines, you know, the TB303 and so forth. You can also use newer machines like Roland Boutiques and the Volcas, Korg Volcas, or also software. Also Electron makes great boxes for that. K-Town Desire. Do you know Yamaha CS1X synthesizer? Does it interesting synth? And is it possible to make whole production on Korg Electride Mark I sampler? Yeah. I know the CS1X. I remember when it came out, tried it several times. Great box for dance music. It's got all those sounds from the 90s. And can you make production on Electride Mark I? Yes, absolutely. Synthesizer. Hi Paolo. Paolo with like O. I would like to purchase a synth specific for warm synth pads. Reference to Jupiter-Xm Beer the Greek video, but I'm hesitating for so long now, mostly because nothing comes close to the Jupiter-Xm. But I guess there should be alternatives available. Can you please advise? Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of brand new polyphonic analog synths on the market. I'm thinking of the Dave Smiths, you know, sequential, and there's the Omega, and there are synths like the Arturia Maxi Brute. All of those will give you the basic analog warmth to do pads. If you're looking for specifically for the Jupiter-Xm sound, and you don't have the money to spend, you can get a Juno 60, which has a somewhat similar sound, or you know, you can go software plugins. Several companies do great 80s style polysynth sounds. Dominic Karkowski. What synth for the metallic flute sound do you think is using modern talking Cheri Lady? Sounds like a really complex sound, impossible to recreate. I'm not sure. I would say maybe a sampler from the era, or maybe, you know, even stuff like the DX7, if programmed right with the right effects, can sound like a flute. Shakuhachi that was popular in those days. I'll look it up, do more investigation. Matthew O'Toole's. I just thought of a couple. There's a sound at the start of Don't You Want Me by the Human League. It's like a 16-note thing, pulsing away from the very start, and it sounds like it's going through a flanger or something. Can you recreate this sound of even the whole song? What would have been a typical software house dance production? So for the Don't You Want Me, the whole setup is online, and going by memory, it was Jupiter 4, the Korg 770, a few little Casio tones, and the Lin drum, the first Lin drum, the LM1, and also the most important thing, it was the sequencer, Roland MC8, one of the first digital sequencers that used CV gate. That sequencers gave a really particular vibe or feel that's hard to recreate with modern sequencers. So I think that's the sound of the record. Set up for house dance music production late 80s and early 90s, you have to look up the keyboards that were produced in those years. Of course, you had TR-909, TBR3 for acid, but also, you know, Korg M1 for sure, the Korg 01W, Roland JD-800, and a lot of samplers in Europe, a lot of Akai samplers, EMU samplers, Roland samplers, and those are some of the machines used. Drums and keys. Hi, how can I sync both Roland FA06 and Korg Triton Extreme sequencers? In other words, I want to use the combined 32 tracks in order to record a song and make the keyboards play simultaneously. Thanks a lot. Very, very easy. They both have MIDI. You just go MIDI out from one keyboard to the MIDI in of the other one, or vice versa. You might have to change a setting on the keyboard to make sure that one of the sequences receives the start from the sequencer, and they will sync. Easy. Barry Hall, if you could have only one synth, what would it be and why? These questions come up, and you know, they're impossible to respond to. But I guess if I really had to have one synth, I would go with the workstation, something like the Montage, or you know, the Core Kronos, or the new Roland Phantom, because you can make whole songs with them. I am a loser, and so are you. Dear Paolo, I'm lately working on an EP, but suddenly my PC is too fried to run Ableton. Therefore, I'm kind of forced to record everything on my track tape recorder, 4-track tape recorder. Any tips how to get results, mastering and EQing without much extra equipment? Would love to hear. Have a great day. Soothing World, one love, Edwin. So I used 4-track cassette recorders when I was starting out as a kid, because that's all that was available. And I was getting good results. It depends on a couple of things. Number one, the tape that you buy, the cassette tape that you buy, it varies by multi-track recorder. You have to look at the manual to see what the bias is. So you want to get the tape that best marries with the 4-track recorder. And also another tip is to use shorter cassette lengths, like don't go 90. Just do like the 46, so the tape is going to be thicker. You're going to get better sound. For EQ, mixer, mastering, a lot of those 4-track have EQ on it. Just play with the curve until it sounds good to you. Joshua, yes. Okay, thoughts on Teenage Engineering OPZ and the new Roland MC101? Sadly, I don't have either of them. I've tried the OPZ. I haven't tried the MC101 yet, but the demos, judging what it is, are great machines, both of them. Jack STM, why do some of school synthesizer I bought not have the original factory presets anymore? Because the previous owners overrode on them. So you can download the factory presets if you want to hear them, or you can create your own. B3 M4RD, hey Paolo, 2 questions, be great help. How did you learn synth waves forms, and what recommendation would you give for a newbie like me to learn? The best way is to get like a simple synthesizer that has knobs and or a little modular system, and get familiar with the oscillators, the filters, the amplifier, the envelopes, LFO, sample and hold, all those things, and see what they do. Hands-on is the best. And I have a Boss DR55 that I'm learning to use, and saw your recent video, New Order Truth Pattern, and it blew my mind. Can you make video tutorial tips and tricks on the beloved drum machine? Thank you. Sure, yeah, I'll do some more videos on the DR55. I love that machine too. Edward Gold, happy upcoming holidays to you and your family. You too, thank you. When I lived in Italy, I became a fan of the great Italian group PFM, Premiata Forneria Marconi, a great band. My two favorite albums by them are Chocolate Kings and Jet Lag. Do you know what synth they use to get those great sounds? I saw them live once in a concert in Naples. Unfortunately, I was not close enough to see what equipment they used. They had a great song back then called Celebration, and it sounded like a mini Moog, but not sure if it was. Yes, yeah, it's a mini Moog. They use a mini Moog, and you know, like other classic progressive rock bands of the 70s, a lot of mini Moog, Hammond organ, and electric pianos of the era, mellotron, all those instruments that were available in the 70s. Ferrat Dunden, which real soccer football team did you support as a kid? Any memories? You're gonna get me in trouble with my brother-in-law, because I've been a fan of Juventus since I was a kid, and we fight over that. But yeah, when I was a kid, Juventus. I'm from Tuscany, which is the region where Florence is. So a lot of my friends were Florence fans, but you know, the Fiorentina, it wasn't really winning at the time, so I picked Juventus, which is from Turin, the north of Italy, but I like that team. Memories from the era, we had, you know, just like in America, they have baseball cards. In Italy, they had soccer cards. And so some great memories when I was a kid too. We used to go to the park and trade cards with the other kids, and also there was a game we played with hitting the cards with the hands, and if they landed in a certain way or the other way, you know, the other guy would win all your cards and vice versa. So yeah, great times. Sprooks, hey Paolo, congrats on the 100k subscribers. Your video made me come to love Junos, and actually picked up a Juno 60. Doing my undergrad thesis on synthesizers. When I plug in the Juno into my Scarlett interface, I get a quiet high-pitched sound that I don't hear through an amp. Yeah, I probably need service. Do I need a mixer to properly get the right line? No, yeah, it's just with the Juno 60, you just have to keep trying and increment or decrement the level of the signal until, yeah, it's hard to find the right level to send the patches correctly to the Junos, and same with a lot of other synths of the era, but keep trying. You can also try to get a little cassette tape and see if that helps. Marshall Arnold, with 2020 right around the corner, I'm curious what synthesizer in the last 10 years has been the most influential in your view? And Marshall, I'm sorry, I didn't do enough research to answer your question today. I just didn't have time, but I will get back to you on that one. I would say maybe, like, you know, since after the crisis of 2008, there was this crisis. Manufacturers started producing small, cheap synthesizer. Maybe the Volcas have been really influential for the millennial generation because they're affordable and they sound good. But you know, there probably are other 20 synths that are influential too. Sir Rigby Bacon Kaiser, whatever happened to your Roland D-70? I sold it a long time ago, but I do plan to get another one. I love that synth. Dom 170, what are your thoughts on Emeo Systems' later samplers that they had in the 90s? The ESI series, EOS series, and other, the produced greetings from Texas. All great samplers. Yeah, the ESI was like the step-down version of the emulator. I have the emulator 4 that belongs to that era, and it sounds great. And so the ESI also sounds very good. You know, crystal clear 16-bit sound, so you cannot go wrong with those. Keithy Brinson, did Vangelis use microphones that record the speakers to get his sound? That's a good question. I don't know. You do get a different sound when you use microphones to capture audio rather than going line in. So yeah, it's definitely possible. You know, he played in the 60s, 70s, 80s. So yeah, it's definitely possible. Ronan Fed, hi Paolo, do you have plans to release an Italo Disco album on the web? Yes, I need to finish it first. and on the web, and maybe just print some vinyl copies. I already have the title of the album, Late to the Party, but I haven't finished all the songs. Thanks. Jose Silva, when are you and Espen Kraft getting together to make an 80s style synth supergroup? Yeah, Espen has a fantastic channel. Check it out if you don't know it already. He's a super talented guy. Unfortunately, he lives in Norway, I believe, and I'm in the US. So it's a little tough. Maybe we can do something remote. Adrian Wilson, please recommend some classic Italian Christmas albums. Yeah, I think pretty much it's the same ones you will listen to here in the US, but you know, there's a really cool Italian-American artist called Lou Monte that I like a lot. And I think he has a Christmas album out, which is always fun to listen to. Italy, a lot of the songs that we have, like Tu scendi dalle stelle, a bunch of other stuff like that, very kind of mellow. Toy, do you have a secret weapon? Something that's very valuable to you but doesn't really get the recognition it deserves? Well, I think the cat is out of the bag for the past 20-30 years. If you had asked me 30 years ago, you know, at the beginning of the internet, I would have told you stuff like the Juno 60 for $300 it sold, or the polysynths, or all the smaller version of the analog synths of the 80s were great. Michael Smith, what is your opinion of the Moog Little Phatty? Great synth. Yeah, I think everybody knows about everything these days. What I'd like to have was a separate knob for the resonance, which, if I remember correctly, then Little Phatty doesn't have. But still, it's a Moog. It's got the quintessential Moog sound for sure in spades. Moi, what's your opinion on everything becoming more and more accessible due to lowering prices and more user-friendly software, and having an impact of drastically lowering the barrier of entry? Some think it's awesome on all fronts, while others are a bit wary, as it reduces the value of people in the field. Well, there are literally millions of people making music at any given second that we're talking. Why? Because a lot of people like music, and at a certain level, it is very, very easy to make. You know, I mean, let's be real. You just get a drum machine going or a sequencer line going, and you're pretty much saying the same key roughly. You get a little simple melodic hook, and anybody can make music. So there are a lot of people trying to make music, and it's always been like that. When there was no internet, of course, it was a lot more difficult to get into the music business, because you had to go tour, you had to go with a record label. The bottom line is that the music business is unbelievably hard to make it in, and only one small percentage of people can make music for a living. Dalek Enclave 123. Hey Paolo with the O. Being a huge fan of your website and YouTube channel for some time, I always wonder, thank you, what was the first rack mount synthesizer or Rompler you ever buy? Also, your demo was steer our rack, maybe buy one this year. Cheers. The first rack mount synthesizer I ever bought was a Yamaha TG55, because when it came out, about the late 80s or early 90s, I really wanted to get the TG-77, which was the rack mount of the SY-77, which was incredible at the time. I just didn't have enough money to buy the 77, so I settled for the 55, which didn't have the FM section of the 77, but it still sounded great because I wanted the sampled sounds. So that's the first one I bought. Sammy 3000, how do you like the Roland Jupiter-Xm vintage synth models. Do they sound authentic compared to original synths? Yeah, I tried the machine, and actually I'm gonna get it for a review hopefully soon. Yeah, they sound pretty accurate. See, I really liked it when I tried. I really need to spend more time with it in the studio, and I'll tell you better information. Piet Unterbilk. Hello Paolo with the O. Is it possible that you produce more dark wave or gothic songs and show us how to do this? You're so nice. Thank you very much for all the stunning videos you made and share with us. Lieber Gruß aus Düsseldorf. Well, thank you. Yeah, definitely. There's that new wave stuff is one of my favorite genres. I grew up with it, love it so much. So it definitely more coming. The Audio Eng. If you're here, Paolo, are you going to demo the newly launched Behringer TD-3 versus TB303? Demo setup configuration of multi-way patch bays. Yeah, probably gonna pick up one of those TD-3. That sounds great, judging by the demos I've heard. And for the patch bays, also a few other people have asked about patch bays. I have a couple patch bays in the studio, and I recently upgraded them. Actually, I used to have the one in the solder one, and then the 1/4 inch. Now I upgraded to all DB25 patch bays, and I love them so much. So patch management is so much easier with DB25 in the back. I'll make a video on it. Sarge Tech. Hi Paolo, hope all is well with everyone. Sir, how did you acquire all of your equipment? Were some purchased new, used? Your collection is vast. Have you documented how many instruments you have? Thank you, and have a peaceful walk. Well, thank you. Yeah, I started really buying equipment in the 80s when I was a kid, and some of them I never sold. That's why I have so many. That's why I drive my family crazy because I have so much stuff that I need to put in storage. A lot of them were purchased used. I usually purchased used equipment. Rarely I buy new, and really has to be something that impresses me a lot, and then I'll buy right new. If not, I'll usually wait until it's used, and then you can get better deals on it. And yeah, so I've just been around for a long time, and I keep buying. I buy and sell all the time. Late mixing in DAW versus using an external mixing desk. Pros, cons, opinions. Yeah, I do both. I like both. If you want to have a vintage sound, I guess, you know, you can use the console. When you mix in the console, like the signal goes through all the circuitry, the analog mixers, and so you get that more vintage vibe. Whereas if you use DAWs, yeah, you can use plugin that emulate. You can do the same thing on the DAW, but it's never going to be the same as the original. So the DAW usually is going to be a lot more modern, cleaner sound. Kian Paul. Hi Paolo, what sound modules do you feel have the best, most Gothic, chorus, choir voice? So far I have a Korg 05 RW, which I love almost everything about, except its choir selection. Yeah, I would go, like Kurzweil had really good choir sounds, and later models of Korg had good choir sounds. Roland always had good choir sounds, but I would go with the rackmount sampler if you can, and just load up samples. Like I'm thinking of Depeche Mode, and you know they use famously the emulator and the Emax line, so you can get something like an Emax rack, and it's got those classic emu choirs as well. Or you can just use plugins. You know, there's plenty of good plugins out there for orchestral and choir sounds. You just download one of those, go to town. Testo Toby, which is the best Oberheim poly? I would say the best ones are the first ones, you know, the early ones, like the 4 voice or the 8 voice, but those are really hard to find, and they cost a lot of money if you find them. The ones that I tried is a 2 voice, the original 2 voice, and that thing is phenomenal. Just creamy oscillators, and but you know, 2 voice polyphony or duophony really. So if you want full polyphony, you gotta go to the OB series, and the best ones are OBX, OBXA, and OB8 in that order.